Go. Welcome back. Stage 2. I'm putting a coating of potassium silicate on the wood. I've done that already and let it dry for about half an hour. Now the next stage is to put lime water on top of that, wash it off with lime water, which has the effect of creating a substance called calcium silicate. You get a basic chemical reaction called a double decomposition, where the calcium joins up with the silicate molecule, and this is sort of basically what happens in cement when it sets. You add lime or cement's got lime in it, which forms a calcium substance which is insoluble and hard, and that's what we want on the surface of the wood. It's only going to be on the surface. It doesn't penetrate very deeply, so we don't sort of leave it soaking for days and days or anything like that. It's just washed on and washed off pretty quickly. Well, no, then this is a solution of lime in water. Not a solution because it doesn't really dissolve, it only dissolves very slightly. Lime, builder's lime. You can buy a huge sack for next to nothing from a builder's merchants, and dissolve it in tap water. Well, don't dissolve it, make a solution like that. It's not actually dissolved, it's just a suspension, I think would be how we should describe it. The science behind all this and the reason why I'm doing it, analysis has shown that there are large amounts of calcium and silicate in the ground layer of the Cremonese violins that have been tested. So we're going to do this to recreate that system, because people don't really know how it got in there, but I'm going to show you a possible way, and this is my method. Right, so with the lime in suspension in water, just start washing the body again. And as I say, this is exactly the same method that's done for the outside, where it has the beneficial effect of sealing the wood for varnishing, so the varnish doesn't soak into the wood and produce strange effects, and yet it still retains a clear, transparent finish. You can see the wood grain and everything. It doesn't obscure the wood grain, which a lot of grounds do. There's another treatment that goes after this, so if it looks a bit cloudy, don't worry. Just make sure you give it a good wash with it. What's going to happen is the silicate and the lime water are going to combine to produce calcium silicate, which will be deposited in the surface of the wood. As a byproduct of this reaction, potassium hydroxide, which is caustic potash, is produced, which we've got to get rid of that in the next stage. This treatment has been known to woodworkers from the time of Stradivarius, and even earlier I should imagine, and according to Saccone, the local cabinet makers and everybody used something like this for treating their wood, their products. One, it waterproofs it. Two, it fireproofs it. Another reason, I think it deters woodworm. So it's a useful thing to do to wood, even if it's not a violin or other musical instrument. Right, I'm fairly happy with that. That's now going to turn the surface layer from a soluble potassium silicate into an insoluble concretey kind of substance, which will harden the wood and make it vibrate better. You can take the wood to the minimum thicknesses if you're using this treatment. Which is another of its advantages. And you can test it out by taking a wood shaving and soaking it in the silicate and lime in the same way, and compare it with one that you haven't soaked, and you'll find that the soaked one is a much stiffer article than in the untreated form. You might wonder what this violin is. It's a cheap Chinese violin in the white that I use for experimenting, and I suggest you get yourself a few. So if you've not done any varnishing or ground treatment before. Right. I'll say that's going to just be in the surface of the wood. It doesn't penetrate too deeply, but that should do the job. And then set it aside to dry for at least 24 hours. It takes longer than the first to create the. It's a bit like waiting for concrete to set, so we won't watch that anymore. But what I will do while I'm here is there is another stage to be done, as I say, to get rid of the potassium hydroxide that is produced as the byproduct of the reaction. Now then, we'll do that tomorrow, as I say. This is a violin I've varnished with my varnish, which I'm possibly going to try and mark it. So that's the sort of basic colour of the varnish, and you need to be able to make this ground layer in order to get that varnish to look like that. Okay, that's so watch this space. Have I said everything else I need to say?
How long does it actually need to dry then?
It needs at least 24 hours, as I say. It's like concrete. You've just got to wait for it to set up, and it actually goes through chemical reactions forming crystalline bonds or something like that. I won't get into the science, but there is a reason for it. Basically what we've done is recreated a substance called pozzolana cement, which is what they used to use in Cremona apparently. I've never had the stuff in my hands, but I imagine its active components are more or less what we're reproducing here. Okay, that'll do for now. We'll come back to it tomorrow to do the next stage.
Right then.